I met Jean-Michel at a party in 1979. I lived in a loft that was not owned, but Stan Pescott was an English artist who had come to New York, and he was very interested in graffiti and graffiti writers, and he invited a bunch of them to come and paint inside the loft to do a feature for the New York Times. And the New York Times decided it was too controversial to have graffiti in their pages. So everybody was very disappointed, and Stan decided to throw a party. And at that party, I heard a roar of the crowd at the party and looked over and saw Jean-Michel spray painting Samo on the wall. And Samo was this incredible mystery at that time. No one knew who he was. But we loved his graffiti, and he was a mysterious character. And when I saw him doing that, I ran over and I grabbed his arm and said, "Oh my God, I've been looking for you." And he said, "You have?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, why are you here?" And I said, "I live here." And he was very impressed that I lived there. And we went into my room, and I had been painting baseball cards and with white out and just covering their faces. And he got really excited and decided, said, "Can we make postcards together?" And I had no idea what he was talking about. And he showed me what he was talking about. We'll take a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, and divide it in 4 places and cut them up. We'll do the art, and then we'll copy them and then cut them up. So we did that and sold them on the street for $1 each. We would run around New York, and every time we got $1, we'd, add it. I had a suitcase with me, and we'd eat. That's what we wanted to do. That was our goal, is to get lunch or dinner. And so we made all these postcards, and a lot of people the people that bought them had humor. I remember that. They got it. Because most people looked at us. First of all, he had a mohawk. And now it might be common, but then that was a really weird, it was very Taxi Driver. Do you know Taxi Driver? Okay, that meant, that mohawk had a meaning at that time. It meant that you were, it was like, I'm something that you people don't understand. Proudly wearing that. And he was very tall, handsome, completely dressed in rags, but had such an amazing presence that it was incredibly attractive to everybody that met him. That would, he was like radiating. So anyway, we sold these. We made them on the street. We sold them all over New York. And people here that I've met have them. Like these collectors. Last night they were like, "Oh, we have 2." I was like, "Really?" I never even knew that. I just remember, I think that later they were sold after we sold them to the original people. People sold them. But I gave my brother one. I was like, "Michael, where's that postcard?" He goes, "Oh, I threw that out." I was like, "Why? Why did you do that? I told you to save it." So what else?
No, that's good. And what does it mean for you now, I guess, to see, after so many years, to see everything together like this?
Well, this is all because of Eleanor. That's the only reason this is happening. She encouraged me to be a part of this, and I trusted her. There's something about Eleanor that, I know what it was. She took me to see the show that she did, the Imran Karachi show, that she had curated downstairs, and I was so taken with that exhibit. It was absolutely stunning. And I realized, this is someone I would like to entrust this to, because these were not really ever considered to be a part of his work, really, because it's a collaboration, so it wasn't like his work. And the only reason that this is happening is that I saw a postcard in a museum, and it didn't give me credit, because it was thought that it was just his work. So I had to come out and say, okay, it was me too. And then everyone was like, "Well, why didn't you come out after 39 years? And it was because I didn't feel like jumping on the roadshow bandwagon. That's all. And I had a real friendship with him. I didn't need to tell anybody about it. But in the interest of scholarly research and what he did before, I realized that this is valuable, and that's why I kept it in a closet for 39 years without even really opening it. The only thing is that, see that over there? I sold that. I'm very sad, but I was so broke. I had 3 kids. I was a single mother, and I got to the point where I couldn't, like, literally couldn't live. I took them to Sotheby's, and I sold it, and I put the money in the bank and lived psychologically off it. I had a job. I never touched it, but I needed it for, like, to keep myself alive, that, And when I went to sell it at Sotheby's, it's like, Art World is really rarefied. And I showed up, I was wearing a white shirt, and right before I went, I was like, I have to have coffee. And I got coffee, and I splattered it all over my shirt. And I had to walk into, like, the fanciest Art World situation and, like, just be there as the money. They used to have this board with, like, every time someone would bid, all the currencies would flip over with this audible, and I was just flabbergasted watching the money go. And I realized, like, that was like in 99 or something, I realized that this ball was rolling. He had been commodified by Wall Street. He was a Wall Street, like, if you were on Wall Street, you had to have a Basquiat. He got commodified at a certain point by the money world.
The Barbican are doing a youth day where they're inviting young children.
Oh, how wonderful! Yeah.
To come through and to engage with artists that have a connection to Basquiat,
Yeah.
feel that they've been influenced. And
Yeah.
it's just it's going to be art of all forms.
How wonderful!
And what do you think how do you think he would feel about
I think
that?
he would like that. He was genuinely a nice person with children, because I had a baby, a 2-year-old, when first we knew each other, and then I went off and had a baby, and then we went back together. He lived down the block, and he was always, we went to the movies all the time, we went out to dinner. He was a family person. He talked fondly about his sisters. He was very nice in that way. He was not like a monster person. He was a kindly, nice friend.
Someone who would have been genuinely excited about youth being inspired.
Yes,
by
absolutely,
him.
absolutely. He was a child himself. How people who relate to children are often, there's something special about them. Yes, I think he would be very happy about that, more so than, because this is only one thing, superstardom versus humanity.